philosopher devoted to the never-ending exploration of the nature of the mind. Having built 8 successful companies at age 30, David took sabbatical for over 2 years, traveling to Asia, the Middle East, and Europe, and he's now based in Penang. Today, he's going to talk to us about renovating your personality, secrets to a mind upgrade. Let us all welcome David Samuel.
Hello, thank you. Good evening. Tonight, I want to give you just a sliver of the work I've done and my interests in the human mind to alter the way your life functions, your work, your relationships, everything about your life. The basics of this is, what is the most important part of a car in how it drives? Engine, this, transmission, that. No, wrong. It's the tires. I had a very good Mercedes once, changed the tires, I was being cheap, I bought cheap tires, and the car drove terribly. Couldn't keep a straight line, couldn't go around the corners. Same thing happened with my motorcycle when I changed tires. Couldn't keep it straight. The most important part of the vehicle is the tire, the point at which the vehicle connects to the road. Right. So, in our life, I grew up with, my parents are of mixed culture. My mother is from India, but British educated. My father from the Middle East, a bit rough around the edges. And I learned something, the definition or difference between a monologue and a dialogue. A monologue is basically one person talking to himself, like I'm doing now. A dialogue is very often 2 people talking to themselves. Have you ever noticed that in an argument? Listen to an argument, 2 people talking, or arguing rather, and you stand outside. You'll notice that they're not actually talking about the same thing, are they? It's quite interesting. And that's where arguments come from. It is a miscommunication, which we'll discuss about how to actually communicate well. Not in the way you speak, but in the way you listen. Now, what is the most central point of our existence and our experience in life? Is our mind. Now, in a bicycle wheel, okay, it's supposed to be round, by the way, when I made the slide, but this is a wonderful opportunity of a technical error to expose a great point. That's more like a normal human's wheel. It's not round, and we bump through life. Little events, little arguments, little contradictions, and so on, okay? So, the outer rim of the wheel, the tire, that's our contact with the world, our experiences. Every spoke is a skill. So it's an archaeologist, a teacher, a mechanic. It's also our personalities. Arrogant, rude, humble, egoistic, and so on. Each one is a spoke. Now, the connection between our experience with the world and our skills is the central point, our mind. That central point, the hub of the wheel. If that's wobbly, that wheel is not going to roll through life smoothly. But if it is perfectly round and smooth and well refined, then the wheel will roll smoothly. Okay, so my work is all about altering the way your mind works. Now when I say alter, you have to understand something about yourself. You aren't real. None of us. Humans are all impersonations. We're all just sort of created things. So, for example, if you were born, same hospital, same parents, everything is the same, you were born exactly the same. But when you were an infant, only a little baby, and you were taken to India, Gujarat, for example, you would have an Indian accent. Your head would be rolling like this, you would speak Hindustani, you would be a Hindu, and you would not be you. But the same body. But you were raised somewhere totally different. You would not be you at all, you would be talking this way. Maybe you don't speak English, right? So, I can do that because my mother from India. Yeah, yeah, I'm allowed. Okay, very good at it. So, you don't exist in reality. You're merely a formation of experiences that have molded you into who you are, your religion, culture, language, and so on. And anything that is formed can be reformed. So, unless you are a Buddha and your life is perfect, there's room for improvement. All right, and that's what my work is about. Finding out what went wrong. Now, the most important part of our life is our mind, our personality. And that's what we're trying to work with. I've owned over 30 different companies, everything from retail stores to the nuclear industry. and medical industries. All right, so a wide variety of businesses. But I've only finished school when I was 16 years old. Only high school, secondary school. Right? And the reason is that I can do so much is that I understand that success is 10% skill, 90% the state of your mind, 90% your personality. Right? Who you are, how you relate to the world as you roll or bump through it. Okay? So we're going to talk a little bit about that and give you a very good example, a little exercise. Define critical thinking, the word critical. What does that word critical mean? 1, 2, 3, time's up. Okay. As in a critic? So, the symphony, the violin, he played 2 notes off, it ruined the whole symphony, this is no good, that could be better, and so on. You can be very critical. Or of vital importance. Air is critical to our survival. Water is critical to us staying alive. So the very same word has 2 totally opposite meanings. Right? Now, why is it that one person interprets the word to mean something, another person interprets it to mean something else? That's the key. The way your mind functions, right? Which is very fixed. So, in order to be truly creative, to be truly rolling through life, we need to alter that way of thinking, the way our mind actually functions, which, by the way, is actually pretty easy. Okay? It takes time, but it's not very complicated. All right? If an idiot like me who never went to school can do it, anybody can do it. Right? So, what we're trying to do is to become, and another question for you, like the most powerful thing on earth, or in our earthly environment, more powerful than the sun. What is that in nature, the most powerful thing? Because it is so powerful, it's more powerful than the sun, and yet cannot be touched or harmed. I learned this from the movie Avengers, the recent one, right? I am free, there are no strings on me. To be I like this saying, I've been that way for a long time. To become totally free, untouchable, emotionally independent is the greatest power you can have, because you are then in control of your life. Nobody can manipulate you or make you feel angry or sad or anything at all. So the answer is a cloud. A cloud. A cloud is more powerful than the sun, because if the clouds are really thick, it blots out the power of the sun. It makes it dark. And yet, you cannot hurt it. You can fly a plane through it. You cannot damage it, move it, contain it, or create it. A cloud is untouchable, right? And yet so powerful, because it is something that just moves. Clouds are always moving. They're always flexible, right? Now, we can become that way. We can become totally emotionally independent, free of being hurt, insulted, angry, negative in any way. And with that, you become truly creative and productive. Because when you're angry, you know the saying, you become blind with anger, right? So obviously you cannot solve problems, deal with your business, deal with your relationships, because your mind is totally closed, because you're angry or in a negative state. But yet in a positive state of mind, you can be very creative, very easy to solve problems, very easy to get along with people. So the most important thing in a conversation is communication is how to listen correctly, not as much how to speak correctly. It is important that you speak correctly, true. But how you listen is so important, because si je parle français, tu ne comprends pas de français, vous ne parlez pas de français, je peux le dire n'importe quoi. Je peux le dire que vous êtes tous des grands vaches, qui sont toutes bêtes, et c'est joli, on sourit, c'est tout bon, oui, hein? So what I said was, if you don't speak French, and I do, I can call you all a bunch of big fat cows, you're all stupid idiots, but with a smile you're all happy. Lovely. Right? Because you didn't know what I said, so therefore your mind could not interpret it and provide a fixed opinion out of your previously determined identification to certain words or events. So you see how I cannot manipulate you. You manipulate you. By having fixed opinions and a closed mind of the way you interpret what someone says. That's why listening correctly is more important than speaking correctly. Because I can manipulate you. Well, anyone can manipulate anyone into feeling happy or sad by the way they speak. Right? So my work is very vast. I've been doing this my whole life, studying humans and the human mind. But understanding how you listen. So, now we have to say, how do we listen? What is it, that machine, that part of our being that listens? That's the hub of the wheel. And that's how we actually have to work on what we need to change. So, when someone is angry at you, yelling, giving you problems, whatever it is, unless they ate a lot of garlic in their previous meal, those words can't do anything to you. They're just words, they're a knife on the table. They did eat the garlic, that could knock you over, for sure. But otherwise, that's a knife, and they're putting it on the table. Right? Because they're just words, just like I called you big fat cows and a bunch of idiots. Right? You can choose to take that knife and stab it in your own heart. Oh, it hates me. Oh, terrible. Oh, I'm so stupid. Oh, I'm no good. I'm incompetent. Blah, blah, blah. You have the choice. You can do that. Or you can choose a better alternative. You can leave that knife on the table and with an open mind try to understand one of two or both of two things. First, that you are interpreting those words and they might mean something different. Or I can leave the knife on the table. I don't have to be insulted. He didn't eat a lot of garlic. It's just words. Or the possibility that that person had a terrible day. Car accident in the morning. Her husband is cheating on her. Something like that. And she's venting at you. It is not about you. But a human ego takes everything, oh, it's all about me. I'm the center of the universe. Right? So if we remember these two things, then whenever you're being attacked or criticized in any way, you can remain calm. And then open up through other trainings that we talk about is the objectivity and truly creative thought to find what is really being said. Is it an attack? Are they venting? Are they crying? Or who knows what? Okay? Just some small examples. In your business, you'll find solutions to problems and so on. All right, now, this picture will help you remain calm no matter what happens when someone's attacking you. Right? Age, wealth, education has nothing to do with maturity. A child can be mature, an 85-year-old person can be very immature. Now, that means that a person may not have true self-control when they're yelling at you, when they're calling you names, when they're putting you down. They might be venting uncontrollably, even though they know that it is inappropriate or they don't mean it. Of course, none of you have ever done that. Where you said something and, I didn't mean it. Why did I say that? It really was inappropriate. Right? Do you notice you do that? When you're angry, you'll say something and then afterwards you'll regret it. Well, that's because you don't have self-control over your mind. We need to work on the essence of how our mind functions. That's what my work is about. So, whenever somebody is yelling at you, it is like the baby. You're holding your beautiful baby peas in your face. What are you going to do? Stupid kid, throw it away. Get me a new one, please. This one leaks uncontrollably. I want to have another one. What are you going to do, right? So when somebody is attacking you, insulting you, putting you down, criticizing you, think for a moment, okay, maybe this person doesn't really mean that, and we need to let him vent, because it's got to go somewhere, right? It's difficult in 15 minutes to give you 30 years of work, but I'm trying to give you some little slivers at least that will help you. And in this, there's enough to know how never to get angry again, if you could think about it and apply it. Now, let me show you another little few series of slides to help you to learn how to think creatively, to solve any problem, to understand people. Now we have a forest, okay? Now what makes a forest? That's the question. It's the next question for you, the riddle. What makes a forest? How does a forest come to be? And a forest, of course, is an accumulation of trees. So we can say, well, what makes a forest is individual trees. What makes a tree? Well, a tree wouldn't live without its branches. Of course, the branches are of leaves, because the leaves, of course, absorb the sun and so on. And the leaf, of course, transmits the blood of the tree, the sap, through its veins. So if you look at a forest and a tree, we have the forest to the trees, to the branches, to a leaf, to the vein in the leaf. And of course, the vein gets its water from the roots. So you see, sometimes the source of a thing is hidden under the ground, or hidden in their previous experiences of the day or the year of their life. So we have to learn to think about things looking for what is hidden, the hidden cause of all things. But is that really the source of the forest? When we learn to see what's hidden, then we can find solutions or true creativity to invent new things and to move forward. But really, is that it? Because the tree would die without rain. So actually, when we're looking at the forest, the source of life of that forest is something totally outside of it. And that's what we also have to expand our minds to think of when we're being creative. But then where did the rain come from? Here, it's just outside your door. But I lived in Colorado for a while in the US. That ocean was about 1,500 kilometers away. So we have forests in Colorado, but yet the source of the forest, it's not the trees, but it's the rain that feeds the trees, and the rain comes from an ocean 1,500 kilometers away. So when you start to open your mind, instead of living through fixed opinions of, I know what you mean, I know what that is, I know this, I know that, I know. Because the worst thing that could ever happen to a human being is you know something. I know that sounds a bit strange for people with PhDs and so on, right? But, okay, you know something. That's the worst thing that can happen to you. Why? It shuts your mind down. Because as soon as you know, you stop thinking. You stop learning. All you do is going into the box of the memory and saying, oh yeah, I know the answer. You don't think beyond that. So this little slideshow is expressing the concept of when you are looking for the solution to a problem, or what's really behind that person's anger, or what's really the basis of this problem within my own mind and personality. You have to expand your thinking perhaps way beyond what you see in front of you by using your mind and being creative, open-minded, objective rather than subjective. And I'll just close with a little story of good intentions. When I was traveling through India, and I was in a little town, in India, sometimes it's very hard to get a train seat, you know, they're very crowded. So I went the day before and tried to book a ticket, you know, to reserve a seat for the next day. And I went there, and there's this lovely fellow. It's not him, I just pulled this off the internet. But there's this nice little fellow in the little, you know, in the ticket booth, and I said, I'd like to book a ticket to Bombay for tomorrow. He says, no sir, no need reserve. I said, but I would like to book a ticket. I'll feel better if I buy. He says, no need. Every day there is a train. So you come tomorrow, you get ticket, there is a train. No problem. I said, okay, thank you. But I would feel much better if I got the ticket now and booked the seat. Please, can I book it? No, sir, no need. Every day there is a train. No problem. You come tomorrow, mini seat. You get ticket. So after trying a few more times, I give up. Okay, what to do? All right. So I go back. The next morning, pack my bag. I'm there. I'm at the train station. Same fellow, because it's a small town. I'd like a ticket to Bombay. He says, no train today, sir. Excuse me, but yesterday you told me there'd be a train. Yes, sir, I told you there would be a train today, but there is no train today, sir. I said, but I'm ready to go. You told me just come today, there'll be a train. You promised me. He said, yes, sir, but on this day of the week, there is never a train to Bombay. So he's starting to get angry already because, of course, I'm ready to go. My plans are made and so on. And I said, so finally, after going back and forth a few more times, I'm steaming. And I was like, why? If you knew there would not be a train today, why did you tell me there would be? He said, I did not want to get you upset. What to do, huh? He didn't want to, this is the thing, in India, by the way, if you ever go to India, everyone has a watch, but the watch is broken for most of them. So when you say what time, one fellow will say, oh, it is 2:30. You ask somebody else, it is 5 o'clock. Because they don't want to get you upset, they want to give you an answer. So he didn't want to get me upset to say there's no train tomorrow because he knew I wanted to do, what are you going to do? So you see, how could I stay angry? His intentions were beautiful. He didn't want to get me upset. He didn't think very far. Okay, some people don't think too far. But when you start to stop thinking only about yourself, only about you know the right way to do it, the right way to be, and you open your mind to another person may have a different way of thinking, and their intentions may actually be truly good, and they're doing the best they can, although it came out wrong. With that kind of open-minded, subjective thinking, your compassion grows, your acceptance of people grows, your anger and frustration diminishes, and you open up your mind in such a way that you can be truly creative to listen correctly and then know how to speak correctly, solve problems in your businesses, solve whatever, relationship problems, everything. You become like that cloud, untouchable, and yet so powerful, because nobody can make you upset and lose your temper. So, that was very brief, that was very quick, and I could have talked like people in New York and really, really fast to get more information in, but I don't think you would have understood. So I spoke a little slowly and said less. So, thank you very much for your time, and I hope you enjoyed and never get angry again.